Good morning, Facebook family. This morning, we're going to talk about outsourcing your marketing, which a lot of businesses do, and kind of why businesses do it. Obviously, if you've considered it, you know some of the reasons, but I want to go over that. And then I'm going to talk about the problems and pitfalls that I have seen a lot of businesses encounter, and I'm going to give you a couple of ways you can prevent that. So there's two main reasons that we see businesses outsource their marketing. The first one is that maybe the business owner doesn't have the knowledge or skills that they need to feel like they know how to do the activity, whatever that is, website, social media, graphic design. And the second reason is time. At some point, your business will grow to the point, we hope, that even if you know how to do it, you may be better off letting someone else do those activities, because there are things in your business that only you can do. Those things you can never outsource. And so at some point you have to choose the activities that you can let go of and delegate in order to create more impact and be more efficient in your business and grow to the point you want to be and get the results that you want. I've worked with obviously a lot of different companies over the years. And there's two main areas that I see they fall into problems when they are outsourcing their marketing, really when they're outsourcing anything, but marketing in particular is what I deal with, and they fall under strategy and execution. The first one, strategy, happens when the business owner, they may know a lot about marketing, but they may not have the depth of experience to know how to do it most efficiently, or even which strategies and tactics may work best in a situation, which software and other integrations may work best based upon their needs. And most importantly, how to tie it all together efficiently, how to automate as much as possible. Those are two areas that we really see people needing more help on, because if you haven't dealt with a lot of different software vendors and systems and platforms, you may not even know what is available, how it can be used, and how it can coordinate with all the other platforms that you currently have. That strategy also ties into kind of a sub-problem that we see in that area, that the business owner may get with someone else, maybe a business coach, maybe a VA that they're using, and that person only does things in one set way and only uses one set program or a couple of programs that work together. And that's really great if you're just starting out and you can use any program and it doesn't matter. The problem we see is that the programs may conflict with other things you're using, or it may duplicate other programs that you're using, where, for example, you're having to upload a lead or a new client email into multiple email platforms, email newsletter platforms. And so things like that are never good, and that's why that strategy piece can be so important to look at. While you're currently using MailChimp for your email newsletter, and this system, this piece of it doesn't work with MailChimp, it only works with Constant Contact. So your choice is either move everything over to Constant Contact or to find a different piece that will work with your existing system that you already have in place and you're already using. So that's also another piece of the strategy, knowing more than one way to get the job done, and knowing what systems can work with things you already have in place. Because the worst thing you can do is either have to learn a new system, which may not impact just that one piece, but if you've got any type of automation set up, if you've got another VA doing pieces of it, you're going to have to change everything, you're going to have to move everything, you're going to have to train people. None of that is efficient for your business and doesn't really make as much sense as looking overall at everything in your marketing and understanding how it can and should work together. That other piece of strategy, how it can work together. You may have systems that could be talking to each other right now, and maybe you just don't know that. You haven't had time to get in and play with them and look at the different systems and see when and where they can speak to each other. So you're not using them as fully and efficiently as you could otherwise. So having someone with that type of knowledge and experience, kind of that marketing technology piece as well, to know and help you tie it all together is a great thing. The other place where we are seeing most businesses fail or have issues when they are outsourcing their marketing is actually on the execution. A few different pieces tie into that as well. The first is businesses like to obviously look for the least expensive option for anything. And so a lot of times they're going on sites like Fiverr or Freelancer, Upwork, sites like those. And there's nothing wrong with that. I actually bid on projects on each of those platforms on occasion. But there are a lot of people on those platforms that are not native English speakers. They're born and raised in a foreign country. Again, nothing wrong with that either. I've got tons of friends all over the place, but that's how they're able to provide whatever services it is at such a low price because their cost of living is lower. And so their wages are also lower. And that means that businesses can take advantage of that lower rate. One caveat there I want to bring up, though, is that I am seeing more and more often that those overseas vendors are not as inexpensive as they used to be. They're realizing that they can go on these platforms and charge people in the United States and Canada and England, wherever, instead of $3 to $5 an hour like it used to be even maybe 2 years ago. Now they're charging $20, $25 an hour or more because they know that people in these other countries will pay that much. Great for them because that boosts their cost of living from, you know, minimum wage or normal, you know, middle class income in their country, which seems crazy when you're talking about $3 to $5 an hour. But again, cost of living and the standard of wages in that country. So they quickly go from that to making, you know, 10 times that and really boost their standard of living drastically. And I am all for that. But it does bring some of its own complications, which is what we see. The most obvious one being, if you're not a native English speaker, there are a lot of things, especially when you're talking anything with copy or text anywhere. There are grammatical errors, there are spelling errors, and those types of things do not present you and your company professionally. Typos can happen, we know that, but it's usually very easy to tell if you're reading an article or an email or any kind of copy if the person doesn't have English as their first language. And along with the language, there's cultural understanding, which really comes out in copywriting and written words. There's just nuances, just like me writing copy for, someone in Taiwan, a company in Taiwan, even though we have family there and we've visited multiple times, we still don't have all of the nuances of the culture because we don't live there. We weren't born and raised there. And those types of things can also come through in copywriting, especially for marketing purposes, because so much of it is psychological, and some of that can vary culture to culture. So the language can be a barrier. Also, the time zone can be a barrier. If you don't need to regularly be interacting with the person, if it's one of those you can just set it and forget it, not as big of an issue. But I know a lot of the frustration I've seen with clients that we've worked with that have some vendors overseas, even if it's something very, very urgent, say it's their website and their vendor is overseas, even if they were to send a text message, help, my website is down and I need it back up, it could be 9, 12, 14 hours before the person even gets back to them, simply because of time zones. So that can be another issue as well. If it's something more like you're just having them pull some monthly reports for you, timing may not be as critical of an issue, and you can work around it better. And there are those of them who work a night shift to be daytime hours here. That can work as well. But again, it really depends upon the exact task that you're needing done. Another place we see issue, again, related to that is quality. And some of it is quality, again, of the copywriting, the language barrier, the culture barrier, but also the least expensive option won't always give you the best quality. So that is something to keep in mind as well. Nothing wrong with when you're bootstrapping your business and you don't have a huge budget, doing what you can now and paying the rate you can now, and then looking at quality as you go forward. For example, branding. A lot of companies, they start and they can't afford any branding. And they may make a quick logo themselves, just throw it together with text. And then they know they need to kind of pull things more together cohesively. And then they'll go to Fiverr and get a logo for $25. A lot of times those logos aren't the final version that you'll use, but it's a great place to start. However, it's not a full branding strategy. It's not a full color scheme development. And so at some point you decide, oh, I really need to kind of, for my website and my social media, I kind of want it to coordinate a little better across all of my online presence. So you need to start looking into how you can implement that color scheme. And then you realize you get to another place where you realize the branding goes much further. It's the whole voice of the company, the phrases that you use, how you present the information. It goes a lot further than that. So again, knowing at which level you can outsource where and understanding the quality along the different continuum. But really, the biggest place we see a problem is the efficiency and overlap of strategies. Since most businesses or half of them are using outsourcing kind of to save time, and time is money, so you're paying money to outsource, thinking it will be more efficient on you. And two things happen with efficiency. The first is either you spend so much time managing the outsourcing, especially if you've set different pieces to different people. It's not one person that you always talk to that same person, and that kind of makes it easier, but you have to remember, oh, for Facebook ads, I use this person, and Google ads, I use this person, and my website, I use this person, and then I need a graphic design, and I use someone else. Just managing all those different pieces, especially if those freelancers need to start talking to each other because they're working on a project that has multiple pieces, that can actually end up causing you more headaches than if you had just done it yourself. So it's not always most efficient, even though obviously the whole point of it is to free up your time. When it becomes extremely inefficient and actually ends up costing you more than it ever should have is when there is overlap. And a great example is a client we had, they'd been using freelancers for years and loved it because you don't have to bring on staff, obviously. But they had so many freelancers that it was really hard to manage them all. And what they found after we went through and kind of did a study on all of the different tasks that were currently being performed by different people is that there was actually overlap. You had one guy who was writing articles for the website, and obviously it's not always the case, but he was actually doing search engine optimization of those articles, putting keywords in and things like that. Then someone else would take it and post it to the social media, but they were using a different keyword. They'd take it and write a little 1 or 2 sentence blurb, but they weren't using the same keyword he was. And then someone else yet again would take it, and this is the crazy part, at the end of the month, they'd go back and look at what posts had been sent from the blog, and they'd put them into a newsletter in their newsletter program in MailChimp. So they'd literally just take the image and take, the first excerpt, blob from the blog and put that into MailChimp and then send it out to the existing list that someone else was taking care of the list. Well, the problem was the MailChimp person was charging $200 a month to take 2 existing articles, drop them into that template and click send. That alone, if you're not having to write it and you're not having to find the images, really takes 30 minutes max. So that was quite expensive there. That was actually something that they could have outsourced overseas for even $20 an hour. That would have cut their expense from $200 a month to $20 very quickly. Plus then they were paying these 2 other guys who were overlapping, and then the one doing it on social media, and then to top it all off, they brought in an SEO expert. He was really good at overcharging, talking a good game, and not really doing, he didn't even know the activities. He was outsourcing it to the Philippines. And so he was charging for it, and then he actually didn't know what went into SEO and was outsourcing that activity to people in the Philippines. So they were running into problems with the time lag between now and then. He had that person rewriting some of these articles that they had already paid a guy to write and do SEO on. And that person, the rewriting had to be edited because, again, not native command of the English language. Some of it didn't flow as professionally as they would have preferred. And then another piece they were doing was adding what they call transitional words between the sentences, which can make the reading flow easier. And Google does look at how easy it is to read the article. But literally, they would take an existing sentence. To the beginning of it, they would add and then, comma, and that's what they were charging for. So with all of this overlap, and for the goals that they wanted to achieve, none of it really made sense. We were able to drill down all of those activities into one person writing articles and posting them to the blog that are SEO optimized. And then we set up some automation that would feed that article to the social media, and automation to once a month pull all of the new articles into their MailChimp and send it out as an email newsletter. Because they weren't getting a lot of their business from social media, that type of automation is a good place to use it. If you're wanting to actually generate business on social media, manual posting is always your best option, but that's not what their goal was. That's not where they got a lot of their business. They really didn't even have a lot of followers on social media. So for them, it didn't make sense to be paying that person to post there and then paying someone to create this newsletter when from the existing feed from their website, it could have been pulled in and automatically sent out for them. So that's the other piece with the execution is not only are you having to manage all of those people, but if marketing and understanding all the technology and how it works together isn't your forte, you may actually be overpaying. This is actually one of the biggest skills that our clients come to us for. We actually serve for a handful of our clients, although it is definitely a growing piece of our business and one that we're really good at and that we like to focus on, is our Hire a CMO program, where we go in and take the people you're already working with and we look at your strategy, we look at your tasks that are being done, all of the different people doing them. Is there redundant work being done? Are there places that we can automate it? And rather than you having to manually interact with each person on that outsourced marketing team, you have one point of contact and we handle it all from there. We make sure that it's done efficiently. We make sure that it's done correctly. We work hard to lower that cost and keep it under whatever budget you have pre-set for each person. By making it more efficient, we lower that cost while at the same time raising the quality. So we do that for a few clients. The newest one we've added, I'm really excited about. I'll be sharing their premiere with you soon, some information on that, but they have a television show that I've seen the trailer, which is awesome, and I've seen the unedited, slightly edited, it still needs to go through further edits of the first episode, which will be airing this summer. And it's a really great program that is one of those feel-good, motivational, will really be worth watching. So that is, we're working on their launch and working with all of their existing outsource marketing staff to coordinate everything and make that launch happen. So that is something exciting that you will be seeing some information about, because I want everyone on my friend list to watch their episodes, especially the first one. I think you will get a kick out of it. So, have you outsourced pieces of your marketing? If so, comment below. Tell me what you've outsourced and how was your experience with it. Most people have a great experience, especially if they're only using one person. It's when you get into kind of more complicated things that you need to start really paying attention to your efficiency. And if you haven't outsourced, tell us the one thing that would make your life so much easier if you didn't have to do it. Comment below, and I would love to hear your stories. Next week, I plan on talking about one of the reasons that I went solo and became an entrepreneur working for myself was because of the terrorist attacks in Paris in 2015. And with the Notre Dame fire, we were right there outside of Notre Dame, Some of the people I brought back souvenirs for, there was a little mirror, a little folding mirror for your purse, and we actually bought that right next door to Notre Dame. So seeing those fire happen obviously brought back wonderful memories of Paris, as well as that event on our last night. And so I'm going to be sharing a little bit about that with you next week, since it's part of the reason why I do what I do, and it's kind of timely, and I've been thinking about it a lot. So tune in next week on Friday, 10 a.m. Central, right here on our Facebook group. And like I said, drop your comments and questions down in the comment area below. See you next week.